Hello everybody and welcome to Green Star Trading with me, Tom. All views, opinions and ideas expressed in this video are my own and do not constitute financial or trading advice in any way. Right then, welcome back to YouTube. I know it's been a while, sorry about that, but I've just been very busy lately. So we're going to be looking at XRP today. I should have another video coming up shortly where we're going to have a look at Litecoin as well. But we're just going to try and keep these videos down to a reasonable time frame. So without further ado, let's get straight into the Elliott wave here and have a look at what we're looking at now. My primary count for XRP has been the same for a long time now. If you were a Patreon, you'd be quite familiar with it. I have covered the same idea many months ago on YouTube, and it's the idea that we've just broken out of a long-term triangle which has been consolidating since the peak of January 2018, and now we're in a five-wave structure of a C, which will top out a three-wave structure and then we'll roll over, and it will be very nasty when it's over, but there could be a lot of gains to come. Yet, now this isn't the only count. There is an extension count where it's 1 2 1 2 1 2, and this is 3 4 3 4 3 4, and we're going much higher, and that's all round much more bullish. But if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, then it might be a duck, and that's essentially what this triangle is. It looks like a triangle. So a very quick lesson on triangles, if you're not familiar with Elliott wave. They can occur in the fourth wave of a motive structure, primarily an impulse, or they can occur within the B wave or X waves of corrective structures. Either way, they make up either the middle wave of a three-wave move or the penultimate wave of a five-wave move, meaning that after they complete and the wave that follows them is over, that's the top, or the bottom if you're going down. So essentially what that means is the rules for triangles govern where we're going to peak, potentially. The minimum, and I mean the minimum requirement, it can happen that we truncate, but that's very rare. The minimum expected result is that we clear the previous all-time high. Now from that moment, it could top at any moment. That is just the way it is. I'm not saying it will. I personally think it's going to run a fair old ways. But I'm just saying you need to be aware of that. You know, that it could peak at any moment past the all-time high. That's just the way triangles are. We have an A, we have a B, now we have a C, and then it's over. Alright, so now that we've discussed that, we've done our A, B, C, D, E, where could we potentially top? So we're going to look at some log targets, some linear targets. Now, there are going to be people who are going to be cross with me for looking at in linear and being very bit of what they're going to probably consider not estimating high enough pricing. And there's probably going to be people who are cross with me for looking at in log and think it's absolutely ridiculous. I can't help but feel I have to look at both, because a measurement is a measurement. You know, if I measure 2 centimeters this side here, I know we're talking price, but if I were to measure 2 centimeters or 2 inches this side, and then say I'm going to take this measurement and tag it onto the other side, this measurement here has to be 2 inches as well. It can't suddenly be 40 inches. Okay, so a literal measurement in linear is a literal measurement. Whatever this move is here, this move is expected to be here. Now it could be a logarithmic target that we reach, which would be significantly higher, but we don't know that. That's impossible to know. We don't have a crystal ball, so we have to start with the minimum targets, which are a linear based extension of the C wave from the A. So let's talk about that. These targets, if we've simply gone A, B, C using a linear measurement, are A, which is here, which was the peak in January 2018. We then came down for a long triangle into our B, and the minimum target for a one-to-one extension. Remember, we could peak immediately after going after the high, but if we do meet the minimum expected target, expected, not, you know, to get my words muddled up here, the typical extension target, which would be a one-to-one with A, then that tops out at $3.69. Now, it's also possible that the C will be extended, and it can be, since C's are third waves, and third waves, just as wave 3 within an impulse is very strong, third waves within a corrective structure can be strong, because third waves tend to elicit more momentum and more strength overall than any other wave. So a C is a third wave. Technically, it's just not followed by 4 and 5, it simply ends. So it can reach extension targets quite easily. Some of those extensions are things like the 123.6, 131.8, 138.2, 1618, 2618, 3618, 423.6. These are the potential extension targets. So if we look at our little target box here, between two conservative targets, since these are linear targets, we have $3.69, and at the top, at the higher end, $5.74. That's the 1618 extension of the C projected from the B. From the length of the A projected from the B to find the C, I should say. Now, we could have higher targets like the 2618, which puts us at $9. We could have higher targets still like the 3618, which puts us at $12. We could have higher targets still like the 4236, which puts us at $14. But they are all atypical extensions. 1618 is the most typical third wave extension, whether it's the free of an impulse or a third wave like a C. Right. So to sum up, we could be on our way to the 1618 at $5.74. We could top out immediately after finishing the high or reach a minimum of a 1-to-1 $3.69. They're your linear targets. Now let's look at our logarithmic targets. These are insanely higher. So the first thing I've done is, before I even include a 1-to-1 measurement in log, I'm including a golden ratio, the Fibonacci ratio of 61.8%. Of 61.8. So what we're seeing here is a logarithmic extension of the wave A from the completion of the B to find the C at the logarithmic target of 61.8 to find a golden zone at $30. Insanely higher. Okay, a 1-to-1 target would put it at $450. There is no point considering targets beyond that. Okay, there is no point considering targets beyond that. So, in my opinion, because why would you? It's just a pipe dream, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you're here at $3. What are you thinking? Let's just be happy that we're back at all-time highs, right? If we run to $30, that's mental, right? If we run to $12, that's mental in my book as well. But either way, I hope it happens. But I'm just saying, there's no point. If you start hearing that kind of hype, right, we're probably about to peak. Okay, so just keep that in your mind. Everyone's going to be super bullish at the highs. Remember, everyone's going to be super bullish at the highs. So there's your logarithmic and linear targets for XRP, based on the idea of this being a triangle. One other count, there are several others, this is the one I'm going to share, and it's not perfect by any means, is that the idea that we've had a 1 into a 2 at cycle, 1 into 2 at primary, 1 into 2 at intermediate, 1 into 2 at minor, and now we're in a series of 3s and 4s. 3-4 at minor, 3-4 at intermediate, 3-4 at primary, 3-4 at cycle, and we've got multiple years of going much, much, much higher than those triangle targets would suggest. Way higher. Okay. Then at that point, 450 on the table in terms of targets. Long way off in terms of time, but on the table in terms of targets. Okay, I don't like it. I'm just going to say it. I don't like it. We've got wave ones, which instead of progressing as they don't always have to do this, but typically an extension moves like this. It often gives the impression to amateurs or to people who aren't familiar. It gives the impression of a rising wedge. Like something like this, and because people get taught patterns incorrectly, they get taught that a rising wedge is a bearish structure, right? So they see a rising wedge and they think it's going to break down, and then what actually happens is it flies off, just like it has done, right, and catches everybody out. That's because it's not a rising wedge. A rising wedge in Elliott wave terms is a diagonal, a leading contracting diagonal, and that will always break down. When your rising wedge, inverted commas, suddenly breaks up, it was never a contracting diagonal or what we would call a wedge. It was always an extension. It was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Smaller waves, the smaller wave degrees with inside larger waves, and then sudden explosion into a 3. That's why sometimes these rising wedges break up rather than down, because you've misdiagnosed it. I don't see that here at all. I see this wave 1 being lower than the prior wave 1. I see this wave 1 being lower than the prior wave 1. I see this wave 1 being lower than the prior wave 1. It's not typical extension behavior. I see a leading expanding diagonal, which followed a leading expanding diagonal. These are rarer motive structures rather than a simple impulse, or the more common motive structure which isn't an impulse, which is a contracting diagonal. Neither of these fit those cases, so it just has a bad luck. I've also had to include a truncation here to make this legal. I can count off of a low, but it's very difficult to make it look even remotely as good as this. So it's just a less likely count. It's a less probable count. So coming back to our original idea, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, probably a duck. Okay. And if we come in now to the shorter time frame, let's zoom in and have a quick look at what's been going on back on our primary count. We're going to come down to the 4 hour, zoom in here and have a look at what we've got. So you might say, oh, that's the triangle we're just looking at. No, this is the triangle we were just looking at, which bottomed back here with the E wave in July 24. We've had our wave 1 and our wave 2. We've now completed a wave 3 and a wave 4, which was another triangle, and now we're out in 5 waves looking for the top. Now this could be, this is where it gets a little tricky. All of this move here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this could be the completion of that wave C we were talking about. We reach the peak, we top, we collapse. 3 waves complete, right? But all of this could be 2 other options. It could be 1, 2, 3 and 4, and now this is an extended 5th, and this is going to be way bigger than the 3 and the 1, and it's just going to run. And it's going to run like nuts. Some extended 5ths do happen quite commonly in the crypto market. It's just where Joe Public finally shows up in force, right? And therefore everybody piles in, and that's our exit liquidity. Now, in this case, that could happen, or there's an alternative, which is this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5 into 1. This is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then this is going to be a much bigger, longer in time frame and magnitude wave C than the wave A, which led us into the top of 2018. This will be much bigger and take much longer, but it will go way higher. Now I don't know which one it is. There's just no way of knowing. So what I would say is, if we've done 3, 4 already and we're now in the 5th, we've got to be a little cautious. Okay, we've got to have it in the back of our minds. We've got to be aware that in this larger triangular structure, we could be done within the next few weeks. We could be done within the next few months. Now people might say, well, Tom, you've got Bitcoin topping in October this year. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, this is a conversation which I've had several times, and I'm still flummoxed by it. What the fuck has that got to do with XRP? Literally, what the hell has that got to do with XRP? You want to tell me what the chart's got in common with Bitcoin from the top of 2018? Because it ain't got fuck all in common. Alright, now I'm sorry to swear, but I do find it annoying when people conflate things that aren't related. Right? Nothing this thing has done over the last 5 years, 7 years, has anything in common with Bitcoin. Right? So yes, this could peak and crash and go sideways again for years while Bitcoin doesn't, because it's literally already done that. That's a possibility. So we don't have to top when Bitcoin tops, we don't have to top before, we don't have to top after. We can just top whenever. You know, we haven't even been involved in going to all new all-time highs for the last 7 years. All right. Now you can point to any fundamental reason you want, but I can point to you to dozens, if not hundreds, of altcoins which have also shared the same or worse sentiment, and then, you know, take your pick between fundamental argument and technical analysis. Some have gone to zero, some have just gone lower, some have gone higher, some have gone sideways. Okay, it's not the same thing. Rant over with. That's my analysis. I think we're in a triangle. We're now in the 5th wave of a C. It could be a 5th wave of a 1 of a 5 waves within a C. It could be an extended 5th within a C. But the second we start hitting these linear targets, we need to start thinking about the possibility of the price topping out. Okay. Right then, so that is my view on the technical analysis of XRP Elliott wave-wise. Let's have a quick look at our indicators. So, I feel like I'm going to contradict what I was just saying now, because from a momentum indicator point of view, things look extremely bullish. Just extremely bullish. If we take the 10 and 20 and 60 exponential moving averages, they're all accelerating higher. They're all separating from one another, and they are all higher than the 10 is higher than the 10 was in either of the prior peaks. The 20 is higher than the 20 was in either of the prior peaks. The 60 is higher than the 60 was in either prior peaks. And now the 250 is higher than it was in either of the 2 prior peaks. So, and now that's pointing up after being flatlining for for years. So it looks really bullish. The momentum here is looking very strong, but these are lagging indicators. They tell us how bullish things have been, not how bullish they're going to be. So although they look very bullish at the moment, that could change pretty rapidly. So we have to keep that in mind. The momentum we're having here in the MACD is greater than we've ever witnessed. The average is now average and signal lines are higher than they were in either of the prior 2 bull market peaks. The histogram is greener for longer, I would argue, than it has been in either of the prior 2 peaks. We have some pretty impressive volume coming in at the moment. Nothing like what we've seen prior, but you know, price isn't meandering around 20 cents like it was down here, or like this big volume down here when it was around as low as 13 cents. We don't get as many units getting traded when the price is several times higher, like, you know, 2,800% higher than it was at the lows. So we have to keep that in mind. We are seeing volume increase, momentum's increased. RSI is the strongest it has been since the way up into the highs of 2018, where we stopped sometime around March 2017. They're the highest highs in the RSI we've seen since then. The OBV is significantly lower than it was in the highs of 2020, but still well above the highs of 2018. The daily look of the OBV is just a continuous march higher of cumulative bullish volume, which just continues to move from higher high to higher high and higher low to higher low. Very, very bullish look. So momentum indicator wise, pretty obviously, as we've already discussed, whatever this was is over, and now we're doing this bit instead, going that way, going up and to the right. How long are we going up and to the right for? Get your crystal ball. Get your crystal ball. Could be the rest of the year. Could go after Bitcoin, before Bitcoin. Could go up to October. Could go from $3.69 all the way up to 14 or higher. Right? Or it could stop the second we get above the previous high. It's just the unfortunate nature of a corrective structure ABC with a triangle in the middle. Because the triangle is the penultimate move. Doesn't matter whether it's the B before the C or the 4 before the 5. Triangle is the penultimate move, and if this is a triangle, then we are in the final move. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. The alternative count was the extension 121212, but as I've discussed, I'm not a big fan. It's not impossible. I just think the probability is lower. Alright then guys, I'm going to leave it there. That's about as quick as I can probably cover the subject of XRP. I could have probably done it faster, but about as fast as I can do it. If you're new to the channel and you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, smash the like, hit the little bell notification icon to remain informed of future video releases. And if you like what you're seeing and you want to learn anyway for yourself, and you want to get access to a public Discord that's full of members, exclusive content, live streams, and a whole raft of educational material, including the Elliott series and other trading educational materials, then you can join the Patreon. There's a link in the description box below. It won't cost you much, and you can always cancel after your first month if you're not interested. It's just an option if you're interested, but either way guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Take care, bye bye.